which will take us to the South Caucasus and a very important discussion on the global order and democracy. So we're going to reach out more into the geopolitics and the connections that we're looking at, values and the relations between countries. And a lot is happening recently in the South Caucasus, and we're extremely privileged to be able to hear directly from His Excellency Ararat Mիրզոյան, who's the foreign minister of Armenia. We just had a chance to talk recently in Yerevan, and I can assure you there are some fascinating things happening in the region. And this will be moderated by Anja Welher-Schock, who's the head of international politics at Der Tagesspiegel in Germany. So please, a great round of applause, and I'd like to welcome Anja on the stage. Please join us.
A warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this panel this morning, which is entitled Global Order and Democracy, a Map for the South Caucasus. My name is Anja Welher-Schock, and I'm the international editor at the German newspaper Tagesspiegel. And please join me in a warm welcome to our panelists this morning. Ararat Mիրզոյան, he is the foreign minister of Armenia. Please join me in giving him a hand and welcoming to this panel. Ararat Mիրզոյան has been his country's foreign minister since 2021. From 2018 to 2019, he was the deputy prime minister of his country. He served 2 terms as a member of parliament, and from 2019 to 2021, he was the president of his country's parliament. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll, of course, look specifically at Armenia today, but since we're talking about global order, let's start off with a very current development-related topic. Iran, a neighboring country to Armenia, fired more than 100 rockets on Israel last night. Are you concerned that there will be a regional war, and what would be the implications for your country?
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to an interesting discussion. And the very first question was quite a tough one, I should confess. You know, we in Armenia, if you know the general geopolitical situation and the trends and the policies in South Caucasus, we in Armenia, we do our best to achieve peace in our region. And here we see that some other countries in larger neighborhoods strike each other with missiles. Of course, we are concerned. Of course, we cannot encourage or welcome any escalation, and we can only hope that this conflict finds its soon as possible settlement.
Let's zoom in a little bit. The conflict around the Karabakh region has been a driver of conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan for decades, and a little more than a year ago, following the offensive by Azerbaijan, more than 140,000 people were displaced and found refuge in Armenia. How has Armenia managed to take in this massive influx of people?
In terms of only receiving the refugees, the forced displaced population of Nagorno-Karabakh, it was a huge challenge, you know, and I think for any government in the world, it is quite a challenge to receive more than 100,000 refugees in 2-3 days. We did our best to meet the immediate needs of these people, give them shelter, I don't know, food, some things, essential things. And of course, we applied to the assistance of the international community, and we appreciate all the assistance we achieved. Now it is the time for the next stage, I would say. We need to somehow meet the mid-term and longer-term needs. And first of all, here I'm speaking about the housing problem, but also employment and bigger efforts would be needed here. But our policy is that if there is no no possibility, no opportunity for these people to go back to their homes, then our policy is to make every possible effort to ensure that these people are integrated into the society of Republic of Armenia, find their job, and build their new homes in our country and stay in Armenia.
And how has this development impacted your government's efforts to democratization in Armenia?
Well, not only this influx of refugees, but the roots of this issue. I mean, the attack of Azerbaijan, and it happened in 2023, but the whole story started in 2020 when a war was launched by Azerbaijan against Nagorno-Karabakh. And then in the course of the war, or during the aftermath, Azerbaijani forces entered and invaded also into the sovereign territories of Republic of Armenia. So this is the whole story. And of course, in this situation, many in Armenia came up with the questions. They start questioning the efficiency of democracy. And, interestingly, the question was like the following. Okay, democracy is probably good internally for the prosperity of the people, etc., but whether democracy is able to ensure our security as well. So after the war, which I spoke about, a serious internal crisis emerged in Republic of Armenia, and to give some solution to this situation, we decided to have snap parliamentary elections. We had snap parliamentary elections in 2021, and democracy was among the main things which was being discussed during the electoral campaign. Well, fortunately, the political party which was lobbying for democracy, my political party, we won the elections and formed the government. So this means that citizens of Armenia supported two things. First of all, peace agenda of the government, and also the further democratization of the country.
How have these developments impacted the population's stance towards Russia? Russia used to hold its hand over Armenia in this conflict, but stood by when the Azerbaijani offensive came last year. Has this pushed Armenians away from Russia, possibly towards Europe?
Very interesting question, and it's not a secret anymore that there is a huge frustration in Armenian society regarding the Russia's assistance and alliance with Russia, because for decades people of Armenia was thinking that if something like this happens, Russia will help us, will protect us, etc., etc. So now people of Armenia saw that this is not the case. We don't get assistance. Moreover, you know that after the war of 2020, Russian peacekeepers were sent to Nagorno-Karabakh to ensure the security of population of Nagorno-Karabakh. And we saw that during this forced displacement, the peacekeeping mission did not work. It did not justify itself. Moreover, we are a formal member of a collective security treaty organization with Russia and other countries. And when we had attacks on our internationally recognized borders, we saw that again, neither Russia nor our formal allies from CSTO, they did not react. At least their reaction was not fitting with our expectations. So, of course, as one can assume, this created huge frustration, and now people in Armenia, they are considering some other options. As I said, and the topic is connected with democracy. So we truly believe in democracy, and understandably this brings us closer to the European Union, to the United States. So in the context of the values of the society, we have been close to the EU, to the Western countries, but in the context of security, psychologically, people of Armenia, they were connecting themselves to the Russia. Now, this second component crashed, and people don't see any other reason why not to fully tie themselves with the European Union, for instance.
Let me come back to that later. I wanted to have a look with you at the peace agreement. Azerbaijan and Armenia have been negotiating for months. It seems to be stuck right now. Can you shed some light on where you stand?
Well, huge work has been done during recent 2-3 years, despite all the challenges, the escalations, attacks on Armenian territory. We, the Armenian side, we have been very constructive during the negotiations. You know, there are good news and bad news here. The good news is that we succeeded, we somehow managed to have some success with the Azerbaijani party. For instance, most recently we adopted the first ever legal document between the two countries. So we adopted the regulation on the joint work of the respective border commissions. So these commissions work on the delimitation of the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And in this document, we managed to agree that the basis of the delimitation process should be the Alma-Ata Declaration of 1991, which is quite an achievement. Not to overload you with the details, I would only say that, among other things, Alma-Ata Declaration of 1991 stated that the parties, which are former Soviet Union republics, basically 12 of the 15 Soviet Union republics, they adopted this document. So according to this document, among other things, the republics recognized that the former administrative borders between them as Soviet socialist republics now become internationally recognized interstate borders. So this means that we have a border with Azerbaijan, and while starting delimiting this border, we have a solid ground, solid basis. This is quite an achievement, but this was the good news. The bad news is that there are some other topics that we are negotiating around. For instance, the more comprehensive document, the peace treaty. So imagine we have a situation when we have an almost completed, finalized text of peace treaty. There is a draft. But we don't sign it. So the Azerbaijani side is reluctant to sign this peace document, peace agreement. For some reasons, I don't know, for some calculations, they come up with new and new preconditions each time, and we see that they don't want to sign the document. So this time they say that there are more things that could be agreed. We believe that there is no single agreement in the world between any two countries which regulates all the aspects, all the spheres of their relations. Meanwhile, we can sign this, a very serious document to start with, and then continue negotiating over remaining issues. So we don't see this political will from Azerbaijani side. So
in November, Baku will host the COP27, the climate conference. Do you think this could be a driver in accelerating the peace process?
I hope so. I hope so, because if you remember, we supported Azerbaijani candidacy for having this COP29 event in Baku. And indeed, I really believe that there is a momentum, there is a real opportunity to close the page of conflict in our region, at least between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and open a new page of era of peace and cooperation. Why not? There, in our corner of the planet. But yeah, the reality is something else.
So many Armenians are still worried about possible threats coming from Azerbaijan. How can you instill a sense of confidence in them that there will be a sustainable peace?
Absolutely. There are serious concerns that Azerbaijan has further military plans regarding Armenia, has further plans regarding Armenia's territories. I can bring an example. Nowadays, Azerbaijani side uses the narrative of Western Azerbaijan, which, you know, basically coincides with almost the whole territory of the Republic of Armenia. They assure us that this is not a territorial claim, but unfortunately the impression is completely different. So you ask how we can, or me as a minister or my government can give confidence. Unfortunately, I cannot give a confidence, but because I am not confident about the peaceful plans of Azerbaijan.
Well, I would say that's a bad point of start for peace negotiations, but let's hope that there will be progress. The EU has been sending a monitoring mission to monitor the border on the Armenian side. What difference has this made?
EU sent a monitoring mission, and interestingly, Azerbaijan did not agree to have the same mission on their side of the border. So this mission monitors the situation only from the Armenian side of the border. And we should confess that since its deployment, there hasn't been any major escalation. So it works, it really works, and we highly appreciate this effort of the European Union. And by the way, speaking about the European Union, if you don't mind, this is not the only tool that now is used to strengthen Armenia's resilience, be it economic resilience, be it, political resilience, or to ensure somehow stability in the region. So there are several other tools which are aimed to strengthen Armenia's resilience, as I said, but also to bring EU closer to Armenia and Armenia closer to EU. We just launched the visa liberalization dialogue. We just got the support of the European Union under European Peace Facility, which is, almost an unbelievable thing, having in mind, considering the fact that Armenia is still a formal member of the CSTO. Mm-hmm. And some other things. We now work over a new comprehensive document, which is entitled a new partnership agenda. So more is coming.
Could Armenia fathom...
Many things are happening between Armenia and EU. Yeah.
Okay. Could Armenia fathom leaving the CSTO?
We have frozen our membership. And we don't have any intention to return to those relations that existed before these incidents. Mm-hmm.
But
we cannot, and we do not see ourselves in an alliance, a military alliance, which does not work. So,
what prevents Armenia from formally leaving the CSTO?
I think all of us should be more careful, and it's not a big secret that stability should be a priority, and the processes which can possibly take place should be well calculated and managed, and also, the risk management, etc. So it's not a very simple question.
So Armenia has had traditionally extremely difficult relations with Turkey, but there's been a process of normalization. At the end of July, both special envoys met at the shared border. What has been the development?
Yes, special envoys met, but also there are regular meetings and phone conversations between foreign ministers. Also, the president of Turkey and prime minister of Armenia meet from time to time. The last meeting between them took place just a few days ago in New York on the margins of UN General Assembly a week. And, the overall atmosphere is quite positive. We have agreed that, and this agreement was reached months ago, or more than a year ago, we have agreed that there is no precondition, neither by the Turkish side nor by the Armenian side. We have agreed that the outcome of this process should be the full normalization of relations between Armenia and Turkey. We have agreed that as a first serious step, diplomatic relations should be established between the two countries, but also the border, which has been closed for more than 3 decades, should be open for at least third country citizens and also Armenian and Turkish nationals, so citizens who have diplomatic passports. But we see that this does not happen on the ground. The border is still closed there, and there are no diplomatic relations. Now, although there have been some positive developments as well, our experts studied and we renovated, reconstructed some infrastructure on the border where the passage should be open. Also now our experts make the same study, and we assume that we will continue these works. We should reconstruct the infrastructure where we have the railway passage, railway gate. But nevertheless, the border is still closed. And interestingly, in the context of Armenian-Turkish dialogue, there is no problem of Armenian-Turkish nature. The only problem is, and our Turkish colleagues say this, the only problem is the non-finalized normalization between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So the Turkish counterparts think that we can finalize Armenian-Turkish normalization only after Armenian-Azerbaijani normalization, while we in Armenia think that in the contrary, if we have an achievement in the context of Armenian-Turkish normalization, that would have positive impact on Armenian-Azerbaijani normalization.
So unfortunately, we're almost at the end of our discussion. Why don't you wrap us off by telling us a little bit how Armenia sees its path towards the EU? Your government has made it very clear that it wants to get closer to the EU. What path do you see?
Well, I already mentioned earlier that we are right in the middle of process of bringing Armenia and the European Union closer to each other. I already mentioned that there are several tools and mechanisms that are being discussed right now. We have already had some serious achievements, and some more are being discussed right now. What I can add to this is that many in Armenia now more and more loudly speak about Armenia's membership in the European Union. I can say that people of Armenia, they have European aspirations, but also have questions what would be the European response to these aspirations.
Yes, well, unfortunately, we've neared the end of our discussion. Thank you so much for joining us for this talk. Thank you so much, Minister Ararad Mիրզոյան. And please stay tuned for the following panels. Thank you very much.
Thank you.